girls, and wherever you may happen to be, thank you very much for tuning in to episode 86 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. And I'm going to start with a question to the two of you who are first with the comments. So well done to Keith, who is in Canada, and Umberto, who's saying hello from Denmark. Please, can you explain to me, to this YouTube Luddite, how it is that you have these comments ready from before I even, because I actually deliberately went on the tablet today before I went online to see whether there's some kind of an indication of the fact that the episode is just about to be broadcast, and I couldn't find anything. So Keith and Umberto, how do you manage to have a comment waiting there for me? Victoria says hello from Eastbourne, was waiting for this episode for some time. Love Chanel perfumes and own many. Right Glory says hi from Yorkshire. Sycamore forever. Ooh, oh dear, perhaps we're not going to be on speaking terms at the end of this episode. I'm not ignoring the rest of them, by the way. Please keep the questions and comments coming. And here is the subject of today's episode. Now, I was a little bit naughty because I said that on social media, I said that in today's episode we would be turning our attention to Chanel and that this would be another best of episode, but I'm not doing an outright best of Chanel. I am instead going to do the top 5 best Chanel exclusive perfumes, or les exclusifs, I suppose, if we're giving them their proper name. A couple of reasons for that. One, I think because there isn't enough of a mention of the exclusive line per se online. And also because I did do a Super Scent article, as in a best of article on Chanel a few years ago over on the blog. So what I will do is link to it in the video description after YouTube has done its processing thing, which seems to take about 24 hours now. And I think my overall Chanel top 5 hasn't changed. But I thought it would be interesting to focus on the exclusives. So your mission for today, boys and girls, is to tell me your one favorite Chanel exclusive. And by that, I mean, les exclusifs. So, things like Coromandel, Sycamore, etc., as opposed to the range that Olivier Polge started a few years ago, the travel-based range, where we had Paris Venice, Paris Biarritz, Paris Deauville, Riviera, etc. So not those. We're focusing strictly on les exclusifs. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Please give this video a like if you like it. And if you'd like to receive notifications of when next videos might be coming up, please remember to tick the little notifications bell on YouTube to select it. And another little plug, for those of you watching live, or indeed for those of you who managed to watch before Wednesday, on this coming Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a live interview here on YouTube with Nick Stewart, the founder and creative director of the brand Gallivant, which was launched a few years ago. That's going to be at 4:30 p.m. UK time, so half an hour later than this, which makes it 11:30 a.m. New York, 7:30 p.m. Dubai. And if you have any particular questions that you would like me to put to him, please send them my way. All the usual methods. You can send me a message over on persolaise.com. You can contact me through Twitter, Instagram, the Persolaise Facebook page. Just choose whichever method suits you best. You can leave a comment on this if he's a fascinating chap, Nick. And I'm sure it'll be an interesting interview. Even if you can't watch it live, I'm sure it'll be worth your while watching it after the live broadcast. The comments are coming in like crazy, but I think we need to start as we mean to go on. We need to smell a perfume. I have got 5 exclusive here. Let's start with one of the ones that I'm sure you would be able to guess is going to be in my top 5 if you've ever seen any of my videos. And here we go. Let's start with this one. Coromandel, and I need to remember to do my ever so sultry, I don't do sultry, my ever seductive, slightly manic smile at the screen for the thumbnail. In case you're wondering, this is the Eau de Toilette, so it's the small bottle of the Eau de Toilette. And here we go. We should smell it. This is stolen from Madame Persolaise's collection, but she doesn't know. And she probably won't ever know because she doesn't tend to watch these videos because she's got better things to do. Let's pop Coromandel here. And I actually talked about Coromandel in a video not that long ago, so it feels as though it hasn't been long since I smelt it. Oh, Any fans of Coromandel out there? Um, this is now. This leads to an issue. Actually, this raises an issue which I'm hoping to be able to discuss with Nick Stewart on Wednesday, because the Chanel website calls this an Oriental, and I really, really, really don't want to get overly politically correct about this, because of all of the politically incorrect things that are out there, all of the politically incorrect practices that are still being carried out every day. I think calling a perfume Oriental is fairly low down the list of harmfulness. Um, but even so, it's interesting that they are still using the word Oriental, and that could be because um, they're just following convention and not thinking that maybe using the French word that they use for Oriental perfumes would work just as well in English, because of course in French they tend not to call a perfume Oriental. They might call it an amber. Anyway, for those of you who haven't smelt it, this is probably not the best day to be smelling Coromandel, even though I don't really tend to be bothered by what the weather is, but it is a scorchingly hot day on the south coast of the UK today. Whereas this really, really is a cold weather, wintry scent. But even so, what this is one of the most gloriously smooth, velvety, suede-like patchouli scents out there. Lots and lots of similarities with Serge Lutens' Borneo. And it also starts with this note-perfect white chocolate facet at the top, almost as though somebody's sprinkling white chocolate across the top of these patchouli leaves. I haven't actually nuzzled up to a fur coat or smelt a fur coat for a long, long time, but I do remember, various aunts and relatives in early 1980s Polish winter having fur coats, and there's something of the protectiveness, the snuggliness of a really, really warm coat that I'm always reminded of when I smell Coromandel. Obviously, as well as it's been documented, very well documented and written about by other people, this also relies on the effect of benzoin, of incense, all of those sorts of materials that we associate with Oriental, ambery perfumes. And everything is just blended to perfection. It is just so seamless and sophisticated. I think words like seamless, sophisticated, elegant, dignified, are the sorts of words that I'm going to be using a lot when describing the Exclusif, because that is their defining characteristic, and certainly the defining characteristic of the collection that emerged in 2007, the debut collection composed by Jacques Polgen and Christopher Sheldrake. If you're aware of the ones that came out in 2007, they all seemed to be perfumery takes on certain materials. So you had Sycamore, which revisited vetiver. This is Coromandel's patchouli, benzoin. There was a leather. There's a green perfume. Some of these may come up later. There was a rose. There's an iris. There's a chypre. And a lot of them were really amongst the finest examples in their field, especially from that initial 2007 range. I think the collection went all sorts of interesting ways, always centered around a particular ingredient. I mean, I know there was a lot of love for Misia that came out a few years ago, but I don't have any major issue with it. It's not in my top 5. But just that real majestic feel, something very, very regal, is typified by Coromandel. So that gets us going with number 1. And I also decided today that I think it's time we did a blotter update. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what a blotter update is, in a regular episode of Love at First Scent, where I'm reviewing a new release, I always keep emphasizing this fact that we mustn't judge perfumes on an initial sniff, and we need to be patient and find out how a perfume develops. And so I always smell the blotter at regular intervals over the course of several hours, and then a day or so after the broadcast I do a little blotter update in the video description below and let you know how the scent developed. So because we haven't done a blotter update for a while, and I think because it may be interesting actually to reflect on what these are like at the dry down stage, I'm going to try and do the one for these, but that definitely won't be ready until tomorrow. Okay guys, I really don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all of these comments, so goodness me. Thank you very much, by the way, for interacting and for tuning in. Okay, let's see how many we can do. Fahmi says hello. Peter Khan says hi from Milan. I'm looking forward to this. Thank you for tuning in. DB70, hello from London, everyone. Angeline says hello. Parth says hello from Singapore. Umberto, the gold standard. Frederick is in the Netherlands. Q George says good afternoon. Hi from Chicago. Hello from Colombo. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, and Keith has answered the question that I asked at the very beginning. I don't know why, he says, but I was allowed to make an early comment. Okay, interesting. But like, what did you even click on? Because I couldn't even find. Did something come up saying Persolaise is about to go live? Anyway, that's the least of our worries. Oh, and Umberto says the same. Good day, everyone from Canada, says Mystery Forms. Chang says hi from Paris. Tushara says EDT or EDP. I'm just going with what I've got. Again, a lot of you will be aware that the Eau de Toilette, the EDTs of the Chanel Exclusifs that came out in 2007 have all since been discontinued, and all of the perfumes are now available only in Eau de Parfum form. Some are also available in extrait, and we might get onto that, with the exception of the Eau de Cologne, which of course is a cologne. And there are quite a few people who miss the EDTs, and I personally have to say as well that in a few cases I'm certainly holding on to my EDTs and making sure that I always have a few sort of last precious drops at the bottom of the bottle. To choose, oh, okay, we've got some votes now. Stefan says if I had to choose just one, it would be number 22 EDP. Fair enough. Q George, if I had to choose only one, it would be Bois des Iles. Okay. Hello from Zurich, says Teresa. Coromandel is my choice. Perfect. I have two favorites, says DC Jimir, Jersey and Coromandel. Well, you've got Coromandel here now. 31 Rue Cambon, if it had to be just one, says Victoria. I adore 22, says Angie. Coromandel or Bois des Iles for me, says Peter. Good morning from San Francisco, says David. La Pausa for me, says Anna. Okay, that won't be here today, but it is a gorgeous iris. My top favorites, Angeline says, are Cuir De Russie and number 22. Umberto's cheating. Coromandel, Cuir De Russie, Bois des Iles, Misia, number 18, number 22, can't choose the best, and Rachel's giving us a great big huzzah. Thank you very much. Have you heard anything about the new Les Exclusifs Leo, says Aperol? Is its launch going to be delayed? No, again, you know way more than I do, but no. And no is the only answer. Perhaps I'll have to contact Chanel next week and say, one of my viewers asked me about this scent called Leo. Frederick, Cuir De Russie is the only one on the wish list. But I haven't smelt many. And Rachel says, hi from Cornwall, been wearing Paris Deauville all day too. Good choice for today, I think. Is Leo an oud, says Umberto. Chanel would probably never do an oud, Aperol Spritz says. Who knows? They are still the one of now very, 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 very few brands not to have done an oud. Valerie says, love Chanel Exclusive. I have Sycamore, Bois des Iles, Coromandel, 31 Cambo and want them all. Teacup says, I didn't know this was scheduled. Nice surprise. And Chanel and nice shirt, Persolaise. Thank you very much. I thought, well, I have to do my equivalent of the little black dress, right? Because it's Chanel. So this is me in a little black dress, people. But you're not going to see what the rest of the dress looks like. Okay. Nick says, hello from Greece, everyone. Gino says, hello from Singapore. Coromandel is my number one, and it works beautifully in the heat. Perfect. People would be surprised it's my most complimented fragrance. Wow, that's praise indeed. My favorite fragrance range, says Jared. Laurie says, many blessings from San Diego, California. Thanks for tuning in, Laurie. I love Bois des Iles. I find it to be such a beautiful, smooth and relaxing scent. Smooth is absolutely the word. Maybe Bois des Iles may come up in a few minutes' time. The green one must be Bel Respiro, says Q George. Very suitable for this warm day. Ooh, we've got somebody expressing an alternative opinion, which obviously is fine. I'm not going to block you. No, yeah, maybe not. Well, I'll think about it. Who is? I've lost my place now. Right, Glory says, I cannot stand Coromandel. To me, it is a major olfactive error. Sorry. Don't be sorry, but try to explain. I mean, fine, we're not judging. No, we're not judging at all. No, but seriously, explain why. And Arthur Scargill, okay, says, I found that if you go through a winter season wearing Coromandel and Musc Ravageur in close succession, you realize that Coromandel is more musky than people think. Regardless, I love it. Interesting, interesting. And yes, sometimes you do need to actually do a sort of compare and contrast with another perfume before you realize what's in the one and the other, if you see what I mean. Nick says, I'm a sucker for Iris Violet combos, but after trying Misia, I was quite disappointed. Way too much going on in that perfume, and not in a good way. Good morning from Mexico, says 87 Linseed. Boy is the best. Okay, thank you for mentioning Boy, because Boy was one of the ones that I'll tell you which one I was umming and ahhing over. And in the end, I thought, no, maybe today is not going to be Boy's day. But I do love Boy, and Boy very, very, very nearly made it into this top five. I'll tell you what it was a sort of toss up between. For example, Coromandel was absolutely always going to be in this top five. Nubia Net said, I'm watching an old video, almost missing you live. Hey, from Oakland, California. Which one were you watching? I'm just curious. Oh, and Keith is still helping me out with the YouTube thing. 5 minutes before your live stream, there was a notice in my subscriptions. Interesting. Maybe I need to subscribe to my channel. Can you subscribe to your own channel? You probably can't. And let's just do just a few more. Hello from Hong Kong, says Hoiting Kimberly Fung. Lala says, I can't choose between Coromandel and Misia. Well, fine. Rachel, yes, lovely shirt. Didn't realize it was just on exclusives. Just got Cuir De Russie decant. Yeah, good noise for Cuir De Russie. Teacup says, I did in fact intuit that connection. The chic shirt for the Chanel theme. Thank you very much. I'm glad you noticed. It's a little black dress, okay? And Rachel also says that she's not a fan of Coromandel because it's cloying. Okay, we need to move on, right? Because these, much as I enjoy interacting with you, these episodes are rapidly turning into a story time with Persolaise reading out comments. Okay, I talked about Boy and which one nearly made it, and the toss-up between Boy and everything, and it was this one. I kept umming and ahhing between Bois Des Iles and Boy. And today I just thought, okay, I guess Bois Des Iles wins. Sue me, shoot me. I have recently rediscovered my affection for Bois Des Iles, just spraying some on the blotter now. I know, obviously, I'm well aware that it is it's actually a very established scent in Chanel's repertoire collection. I made a little note here that the original Bois Des Iles is from 1926 and was composed by Ernest Beau, whereas Coromandel, as far as I'm aware, as far as I've been able to find out, only just appeared in 2007 as an exclusive. Then this version, this is the EDT, by the way, that I've got here, came out in 2007. This is just beautiful. This must be one of somehow the most delicious and yet the most spiritual spicy sandalwoods ever. I mean, just heaven. A lot of people prefer it in the extrait concentration, and I haven't tried the extrait for a long time. I should actually, when we're able to interact with the rest of humanity again, I really, really want to do the round of various perfume shops and just smell some of these things that I haven't smelt for a long time. And in terms of Coromandel as well, I know that last year they released an extrait of Coromandel, and I've yet to try it. That, I could imagine that either being a bit of a mess or just being gloriously resplendent. So I must try it. But Bois Des Iles brings out all of the facets of sandalwood that are the most compelling, the most endearing, and the most subtle. A lot of sandalwood scents, and in this regard, the first one that pops into my mind is Tom Ford's Santal Blush, which I love, absolutely love. It's one of my favorite Tom Fords. In fact, it may actually be the favorite Tom Ford for me. But Santal Blush approaches sandalwood in a very particular way, in that it tries to make its natural subtlety much more in your face, or it tries to bring out its more subtle features and make them more prominent. And usually what that means is that the sandalwood is made woodier and is also given a very, very strong smoky note, because sandalwood on its own as a material isn't actually smoky. The wood does start veering into the territory of heat, which might make you think of smoke, but there's nothing of tobacco in sandalwood, there's nothing of incense in sandalwood. If anything, it's much more apt to describe it with words like milky, creamy, smooth. Jean-Claude Elena's Santal Massoya for the Hermescence line presents a very, very real sandalwood very convincingly. But Santal Massoya usually lasts about half an hour, or it gets to the point where you don't detect it that much anymore. And that is my issue, my one and only issue really with Bois des Iles, which is why I was umming and ahhing about whether to include it here or to include Bois, because I just wish that its opening stages, its top section and the early part of its heart section just lasted a bit longer, which is why if ever I do wear it, I tend to spray it on fabric just to make the effect last longer. It is the kind of scent that I think you would want. You want it to keep you company for a long time. You don't want that deeply, deeply contemplative effect to be so fleeting. But that aside, because longevity, as far as I'm concerned, is not an end in itself. It's not a virtue in and of itself. There are plenty of fantastic perfumes out there that don't last very long, and plenty of perfumes that last for ages but aren't terribly good. So that aside, this is where Coromandel judges the interaction between the patchouli and the chocolate notes and the spices. Here, of course, everything is to do with the blend of the spices and the sandalwood. You're hard pressed to pick out a particular spice, which is what I love about these exclusives as well, because they have a more old school appreciation of abstract compositions. Some of them become more focused on single notes than others, but you don't really smell Bois des Iles and think, oh yes, there's the nutmeg note coming out, or there's the cinnamon note coming out, or there's the cloves, even though they probably are all in there. And the other thing that I was thinking about as well when I was considering Bois des Iles, Coromandel, one of the other ones that's coming up, is that there's something about a lot of the exclusives, not all of them, something about a lot of the exclusives that makes me think of barriers. They have a very, very protective feel about them. Maybe that's what gives them a slightly haughty demeanor, but I think that's also what makes them elegant. They're perfumes that you wait for permission from them to allow you in. And coming back to this word barrier, a barrier is something that somebody can choose to lower or to raise. And very definitely Coromandel, Bois des Iles have this feel of, there is this layer around the person, there's this shield, this force field, and if the wearer wants you to come in, then they'll press the little button that lowers the force shield and you're allowed in. But that's an interesting quality that they have, a real sense of texture. Okay, how are we doing for comments? Okay, it's fewer comments now, so at least I can deal with them. Stefan says, would be a crime to not have Bois des Iles in the top 5. Okay, well, there we go. It's hard to get a bottle of Bois des Iles in Hong Kong, says Hoiting Kimberly. Okay, Q George, love Bois des Iles. Aperol Spritz says, I tried the extra of Coromandel in the boutique. It did not impress me that much. Ah, that's a shame. That's a shame. I should try it as well, though. Mr. Frangipani, is Egoist better for a man and Bois des Iles for a lady? We don't talk about perfume in those sorts of terms. Egoist is better for people who prefer Egoist, and Bois des Iles is better for people who prefer Bois des Iles. End of story. Wear what you like. Santal Blush is very dry to my nose. Yes, yeah, exactly. Whereas Bois des Iles is not. Jared says, Bois des Iles was inspired from a Russian opera and the best sandalwood fragrance without the use of any sandalwood. Ooh. Why do you know this for a fact that it doesn't contain any sandalwood? Q George says the X-ray version of Coromandel is more resinous, vanillic, ambery than chocolatey patchouli. Ah, okay, interesting. Another reason to check it out. And Angeline is giving lots and lots of love to the Jean-Claude Helena Santal Massoya. Mr. Frangipani says, is Cuir De Russie EDT better than EDP or best to go for the Parfum? Now, I haven't actually tried the Parfum for a while, but Cuir De Russie, which may or may not be coming up in a few minutes, let me say now, as far as the exclusives are concerned, I prefer the EDT. I think there's something just a little bit too heavy about the EDP. And in a lot of cases, the reason why I prefer the EDT, when I prefer the EDT, is because they seem to have more room to breathe in that concentration. Bois Des Iles was never created by Beau as linear, says Jared. He wanted to create a story. Fair enough. Teacup, I'm on the fence about Santal Blush. Oh, back to Tom Ford. First time I wore it, I couldn't believe how heavenly the sandalwood was. What a find. But second time, the cumin and spices were so offensive to me. Must try again. Well, go back and let us know what you think. A few more comments. Marilee says, it snowed a few flakes in Pittsburgh this morning. Oh my goodness, really? Which makes it perfect for me to wear Bois des Iles. I wear it when I want to feel powerful. Oh, okay. And Laurie says, I do get a distinct gingerbread note in Bois des Iles. Yes, actually, no, you are totally right. Thank you very much. Completely. Something edible, right? Which I adore. I have the Parfum in the little bottle, which I cannot seem to find anymore. Oh dear. C. Beeble says, a tie between Sycamore and Coromandel for favourite, I guess that means. Edging to Sycamore, then I'm a huge fan of Chypre. And Tomasz says, hello from the east. I just happened to be passing, so I popped in to hear what's going on in the world of scents today. By the way, I do love Coromandel. Fair enough. What note or ingredient is beige centered around, please? Ooh, well, I think we'll have to leave beige for today, but there may be something about it on my blog because we need to carry on. Ooh, okay. This one has been mentioned quite a few times, so let's go for it. Again, this is actually an old Chanel, because Cuir De Russie first came out in 1924, so it was another Ernest Beau composition. And interestingly, I discovered that the EDT actually came out in the 80s. I've got 1983 listed on base notes, and so then they put it into the Exclusif line, and of course now it's only available as an EDP and an extrait. This is still my precious EDT. Ooh, I love this stuff. This is one of my all-time favorite Chanel's ever anyway, you know, Exclusif or not. Where can we pop that? I keep trying to look in various places to make sure that the collection is looking presentable. Let's make a little bit more room there. Cuir De Russie. Yes, it's a leather. But you know, to say that it's a leather doesn't really begin to capture how beautiful this perfume is. Surely one of the finest ever composed. Surely. Now, okay, I'm partial to leather scents as well. Those of you who watched my video on my favorite perfumes of all time will know that, you know, I like my leather scents. But this has got, you know, this is much more, for example, like suede. The classic Guy leather, I suppose, scent for me would be Canisia 10. You can trace that lineage all the way to things like Tuscan leather from Tom Ford. This is doing a slightly different thing. So yes, it has got leathery notes in there. It's got tannery notes in there, but there's a very pronounced floral aspect, perhaps even rosy. There's a very pronounced iris aspect, and there's a real softness to it. You know, it could be the result of clever use of resins, maybe a use of vanilla, that makes you think of suede. So this isn't a leather handbag. Again, really great leather handbag scent from Dior from a few years ago, Cuir Canage, which I think they discontinued. Did they discontinue Cuir Canage? I can't remember. But so, you know, this isn't shoe polish. This isn't, like I said, a leather handbag. It's not a leather jacket or a leather belt. It's just very pale, smooth, again, velvety, that word that is applicable to so many of these exclusives, velvety suede. And I know that there is a fragrance in this line called beige, but I always think of this as being the beige coloured one, but in the nicest way possible. You know how I think beige is unfairly maligned quite a lot of the time because of course beige can be supremely elegant. I think of somebody like Christine Nagel. The few times that I've met her, the current in-house perfumer at Hermès, she does beiges and neutral colours like that brilliantly, and she's an extremely elegant lady. And I can imagine her wearing like this, and I can imagine the animalic side of it, because it does have an animalic quality to it, of course, being a leather. I can imagine that not overwhelming the elegance. Um, this is, and I guess maybe that's what I love about it so much, in that it has that purr. Rachel said that she's just got a decant and it makes her make a purring sound. Absolutely, there is a purr about it. Absolutely, there is a growl in there. Absolutely, there's something feline about it. There's something tiger-like about it. Um, and yet it never, ever, ever stops being elegant. And in some ways, the closest leather that I can think of to Chanel's Cuir De Russie is L'Artisan Parfumeuse Zing by Livio Giacobetti, because that does a similar kind of thing. Again, it's animalic, it's unashamedly dirty in some parts, but it's also, in certain places, in all the right places, it's kind of cuddly. But again, like the other ones we've talked about, it allows itself to be cuddly only if it lets you in. So to the rest of the world, it's claws bared, but there is definitely a softness in there. I just adore it, and I think this is now my only bottle of the EDT. I have got the EDP, and I enjoy the EDP as well, but because I know how much I prefer the EDP always feels like a sort of slightly inferior substitute. But if ever I finish the EDT, I will be happy with the EDP. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Right, let's do some comments, and then we're already down to the last two. You've been very, very patient. Where did we get to? Gino is saying the Chanel Exclusives or the Dior Privé line. Not really a question there. I'd need to think about that one, because there are lots of the Diors that I love as well. Lots of Diors that I love, although they've also discontinued a lot of the ones that I loved. Cuir de Russie is buttery and soapy on me, says Hoyting Kimberly. Hardly a leather scent. Oh, okay. I mean, I'd go with buttery. DTs are pretty light. Can they go bad easier? Is it safe to buy a 10-year-old bottle? That's an interesting question. I don't think there would be anything in that. I think whether a perfume goes off a little bit depends on how it's stored and on what the ingredients are. For example, if a perfume depends a lot for its effect on citrus materials, that may make it go off a little bit faster. But the real thing, what you want to find out is, has the perfume been stored in a cool, dark, dry place? I've bought old EDTs over the years, and I've been happy with them. So I don't think you need to worry too much about that one. Feel free to disagree with me, anybody, and then I'll block you. Maybe. Angeline says, my version of Cuir de Russie is an EDT from 2000. Ah, you lucky thing. Love it. I've never actually tried the 2007 or EDP versions properly. You need to. Next time you can. You need to, and then report back and tell us what you think of them. Frag Chi-Town says, comparison to Cuir d'Ange from Hermès. That one makes me think of suede. Very, very, very good question. Without actually bringing my sample of Cuir d'Ange here, off the top of my head, I would say that Cuir d'Ange is dirtier. It has that slightly gasoline-y whiff about it, which I adore. I mean, I really, really love Cuir d'Ange. What else have we got? Jared says, Cuir de Russie, my first Les Exclusifs and a favourite leather birch tar. Thank you for mentioning birch tar fragrance. So smooth, refined, yet you could feel Coco designing a fragrance with her affair with the Duke. Q George, Cuir Carnage is not carried in major department stores in the UK, but still sold in duty-free and their French website. Okay, thank you very much. Monica's tuning in late. Never mind, you're more than welcome. Josanne says, Cuir de Russie is just glorious. I'm almost out of my EDT, which is heartbreaking. I feel like I prefer many of the old EDTs among the exclusive to the current EDPs. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Stefan says, I think Paloma Picasso is quite similar to Cuir de Russie at a much lower price. Ooh. There's a thought. I haven't tried Paloma Picasso probably for well over a decade. I'd need to revisit that next time. Next time I have a chance, I will smell it. Ashfaq is saying hello everyone, late again. Never mind, we're still here for you, Ashfaq. Thanks for tuning in. And Nick says, haven't smelled Cuir De Russie for a while, but I recently bought Essa Libre d'Oranges like this. And the dry down somehow brought Cuir De Russie in my mind. Does my memory play tricks on me? Like, ooh, I'd have to re-smell them. I mean, maybe there's something buttery, irisy about like this. Could be, could be. I mean, I adore like this. Oh, Teacup is having issues with keyboard. Sorry sorry, ignore accidentally typing. That's fine. And Ashwag says, Cuir De Russie, have you smelled the vintage extrait? Not for ages and ages. Okay, so at this point, I should say that what you are doing at the moment, lovely people, is watching episode 86 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. If you've tuned in live, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching the recording, thank you very much for watching the recording. Please leave comments, ask questions. I usually get around to all of them in due course. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so. Please consider supporting my work on Ko-fi. You will find the link to that in the video description below. And what we are doing today is going through my top 5 best Chanel exclusive perfumes, my favorites from the Les Exclusifs. And I think we need to do number 4. Okay, let's do this one. You guys can probably guess what the last 2 are. I wonder what you think the last 2 are going to be. This is number 22. Number 22 is also actually an old Chanel perfume, the original concept behind the original composition, because it came out in 1922 as an extrait composed by Ernest Beau, and it was always meant to be a sort of companion piece to Chanel number 5. And then in 2007, it joined the Exclusif as an EDT, and now it's available, same as all the rest of them, only as an EDP. And this one is the EDP. I've got the EDT and I've got the EDP. I do like them both, and actually I think they've both got their own charms and their own strengths. Where should we put number 22? Let's put number 22 there. Does that work? Yeah, I mean this is beautiful. So the whole idea of number 22, if you've never smelt it, is that it's meant to be like number 5, but with the aldehydic facets. So all of those bits at the top, those parts of the top that make you imagine sparkling champagne bubbles, that powderiness, bursts of light, you know, flash bulbs going off, that kind of thing. Those materials that have a slightly waxy, powdery quality, those materials have been really, really, really amped up. The floral heart is still intact, and there is a more pronounced incense note running through the heart, and perhaps, again, a same sort of sandalwoody base as number 5. And this is, I think, the most celestial of the Chanel perfumes. This one really, really just, I always just think of perfect, fluffy white clouds. I always sort of picture myself on a plane, and either, you know, going through the clouds just before landing or going through the clouds just after takeoff. And then, well, it actually is more effective after takeoff, because then you see the perfection of the blue sky around you, the sunlight, and just these pristine, spotless white clouds below you. So, you know, perfect blue, perfect white, and it always just takes you closer to the sky. It always takes you closer to the heavens. But what's interesting as well, and, you know, like all great perfumes, it kind of presents one image and then it goes, aha, but actually what I'm doing is this as well. It's also beautifully cold. Chanel play a lot in their marketing on the fact that the Northern Lights may have been an inspiration for Chanel number 5 in some way, or at least the aldehydic aspect of number 5 may have been inspired by the Northern Lights. But you really, really get that in number 22. There is something about iridescent colors in the sky and cold. You know, Coromandel is gorgeously warm. Bois Des Iles is warm. Cuir De Russie is very, very definitely warm. In fact, it's probably scorching in some ways. But number 22 is gorgeously cold. It's not chilly. You know, one of the, if ever I want to recommend a cold perfume to somebody, as in really, really chilly and standoffish, I immediately think of l'Odyssée, the women's l'Odyssée from Issey Miyake. But this is this is crisp, welcoming cold. If there is such a thing, this is at the same time as being, going through the clouds and seeing the sun. It's also waking up one morning and seeing the whole world covered in white. It's very white. I seem to be using whiteness to describe it a lot. The EDT probably seems to have even greater lift. I think it propels you even closer to the heavens, whereas the EDT the EDP, the Eau de Parfum, this one is maybe a little bit more stately, a little bit more restrained, a little bit more reserved, maybe even a little bit sweeter. But I do love both. I really, really love both. And before we do the last one, any guesses for the last one? Let's go through some questions. Everyday Products has heard anything about the new Chanel releases? No. And number 19, please, says Aperol Spritz. Number 19 isn't an exclusive. Fidelio says, do you like Bleu Parfum? My thoughts on Bleu de Chanel are on my blog, so head over to persolaise.com. Aperol Spritz says, that's from another realm. Ashfaq says, hope Bois Des Iles is in today's program. Yeah, we've done Bois des Iles. It's over here, so you'll have to go back and watch, Ashfaq. Angeline says, number 22 is glorious. I have the EDP as well as an ancient parfum. Your collection, Angeline. One day you need to send us like snaps of your collection. Aperol Spritz says, it is said that number 22 could have been today's number 5. Yeah, I think there is something very, very modern about number 22 still. Victoria says, need to revisit number 22. Absolutely love number 5, so expected to love number 22 as well, but somehow it turned into soap on me. There is definitely a soapy, powdery feel about aldehyde, so maybe the fact that there is so much of them in number 22 had that effect on you. Stefan says, number 22 is my favorite summer fragrance. Actually, I like wearing it in the summer too. Kim Dawson Brooks says, sorry if this is a silly question, but what's the difference between the exclusive collection and regular Chanel? Just distribution or the way it's produced? Well, basically it is just distribution, but with distribution come other things, right? So because you can only get them in certain shops, in certain markets, in certain boutiques, they've decided to make them that much more special. Perhaps they're not as mass produced as some of the other perfumes, and so the idea is that they're able to use certain ingredients that maybe they wouldn't use in the main range. But basically it does come to distribution, and then it also comes down to price. But that is basically what it is. 87 Linseed Guerlain or modern Chanel Persolaise, what do you prefer? That's too difficult to answer. Cocoa EDT is my signature fragrance, says Kim Dawson Brooks. That classic, there you go. But this is the EDP here. That's also nicked from Madame Persolaise. Gino says the extras are just too expensive. Would love to sample them. They are pricey. They are pricey, absolutely. Monica says, Misia is my best of the best. I'm getting tons of compliments. People always go crazy. Coromandel for me is not finished yet. For Polish winter, my mention of Polish winter, are you Polish? I'm half Polish. I have said this before. Jeremy Hine says, I like boy in those situations. Oh, but I've missed the thread. Okay, fine. Olfactive Story says, I love Misia. This one is my favorite from Les Exclusifs, fair enough. And so we are down to the last one. And I've kind of done this deliberately as the last one because it is a very, very warm day out there. And I always love spraying a little bit of this on a hot day. Again, last few drops of my EDT of Bel Respiro. Fantastic name for a perfume, fantastic name for this perfume. Oh dear, Jared's going to be disappointed because they're saying, I hope the last one is Rue Cambon. No, it's Bel Respiro. Let me just spray it once because this is such precious juice for me. Oh God, I didn't even get the blotter. Where should we pop that? How's the composition looking? Oh, now see, Madame Persolaise can't take this because she really, really doesn't like green perfumes. And of course, this is like uber green. This is freshly cut grass, galbanum, the green facets of rosemary, the green facets of peas, the green facets of peppers. Sort of scrunching up ivy and leaves and all sorts of other leafy foliage material when you're gardening in your hands and breathing it all in. It also has a very, very well judged marine note. And that's saying a lot because most marine notes are awful and overly synthetic and screechy and totally unconvincing and sort of bilge like sometimes. But this is just perfect. And as I wrote in my book, I always return to the description of Bel Respiro that I gave in my book. It always makes me think of looking into the distance. It always makes me sort of raise my head slightly and extend my vision onto a distant horizon, whereas always looking, it makes me think, it reminds me that there is an outside world. It reminds me that there are unexplored vistas, unexplored territories, that there is still a whole world to be seen. And yeah, almost a little bit like an infinity pool, like looking at infinity pool, but looking at the sea as if we're in an infinity pool. So you're standing in a perfectly lawned, perfectly manicured garden. The grass has just been cut. You're standing on a cliff edge. Ahead of you is beautiful sea, and the sun is rising because this is a perfume about beginnings. This is a perfume of optimism. So the sun is just rising, and it's casting its light on these gentle waves, and the reflection is like popping like diamonds all around you, and you are just filled with so much gratitude for the fact that you're in this privileged position of being able to stand on this cliff edge and look out at the world and start the day with optimism and with a perspective of freshness and openness. It's just gorgeous. It is just gorgeous. I like the EDP too, but I so prefer the EDT. And the woody notes come through as well. It's just great. But that's why I'm determined to do a blotter update, because I really want to give some thoughts to what these perfumes are like at the dry down stage. A few weeks ago, when I did my best of Frederic Malle video, which I'll try to link to here, when I collected the blotters up from that best of Frederic Malle, I was so impressed with how beautiful the dry downs of all of these perfumes were. Now, before we finish, let's just finish off the comments, because now that we've done the 5, I see a lot of people going, oh my God, you didn't mention this, you didn't mention that one. So C. Beeble says, I thought the aldehyde in Chanel No. 5 was a happy accident. Didn't the chemist get his proportions wrong, but Chanel loved it? Yeah, it's just one of those things we don't know. It could be an urban myth, as you say, could be true. Kozizi says, sorry to ask, but did you include sycamore? Thank you for asking. Sycamore is one I think I have just had to reconcile myself to the fact that I just don't get on with the dry down of sycamore. I could not love its opening more. The opening just takes me over in this kind of, I just go, take me now, sycamore. But I have got a problem with vetivers that turn, the best adjective I've seen used to describe how I feel vetivers go is swampy. There is something about sycamore, and there's also actually something about a lot of vetivers that to me starts turning into boiled onions and excessive BO, and I just can't take it. And there are very few vetiver perfumes that don't do that. And obviously, if you like vetiver, that's what you like. That's what you want to go for. But I struggle with the one thing that I have found that works with vetiver perfumes like that, sycamore included, is not overdosing. Literally doing 1 spritz, maybe 2, and leaving it at that. That seems to work well. But no, I had to concede that out of all of the exclusives, these are the 5 that I turn to most often. And I sort of look at sycamore and I think, okay, what I would like to do is spray it on a blotter, smell the opening, and then put it aside and forget about it. Sorry. Ashfaq says, ask Madame Persolaise to get you 2 bottles as gifts, less guilt. Okay. Mr. Frangipani says, Persolaise, you have a lot of fine perfumes, but what's your dumb reach in the summer, or do you always smell like $1 million in every situation? Obviously, I always smell like $1 million. No, more often than not, I smell of the perfumes that I'm testing to write a review about. I don't believe in a dumb reach, though. I mean, wear what you like. If what you like is something that's called a dumb reach, then it's not a dumb reach for you. Just enjoy it. Jared says 4 out of 5 from my own top 5 Les Exclusifs list. That's something. Ashfaq says 92 people watching, but only 22 likes. Smash it. Well, that means that there are 70 people who don't like it. Ashfaq, you need to let people make up their own minds about whether they want to give it a thumbs up or not. Josanne says, I'm so glad you picked out Bel Respiro. I didn't see it mentioned among the exclusive. I adore how crisp it is compared to the mossier greens like number 19 and Cristal. Yes, agreed. I bought Bel Respiro after the description in your book, says Victoria. Love it. Thank you very much. That's great. Vanny says, better late than never. I'll have to catch up on this list once the video posts. Do I see Coromandel? Yes, you do. And you may find that YouTube takes a while to post the video. So please, it's not me, it's YouTube. Everyday products. I heard an urban myth that Persolaise's favourite summer perfume is Aventus. Ooh, lots of people are looking to get blocked today. Number 19 is a gem, says Aperol Spritz. And last comment then, Frag Chaitan. Looking at the notes of Bel Respiro and base notes, and all seem promising for me, but one of the base notes is vetiver. So given your comments of vetiver, does it ever get swampy here? No. And lots of perfumes contain vetiver. Most perfumes contain a bit of vetiver, I think. But vetiver is one of these things that there's a real tipping point. Below a certain level, it fulfills a function in the formula. It supports the other materials. Above a certain level, all you can smell is vetiver. Ashfaq, I can see your comment. I'm not responding. Above a certain level, all you get is vetiver. And I think that's when I have an issue. That's when I have a problem. Mr. Frangipani says, what about Antaeus and Pour Monsieur hiding behind? What's your... Well, I brought them here because I wanted to do like a Chanel splash, a Chanel collection, but we won't talk about them today because this has been about the exclusives, except to say Antaeus is one of my personal favorites of all time, and I love Pour Monsieur as well. Okay, so there you go. Top 5 favorite Chanel exclusives. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you are safe. I hope you are well. Please don't forget that this Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. UK time, there will be a live interview, technology permitting, a live YouTube interview here with Nick Stewart, the founder and creative director of the brand Gallivant, where I hope to be able to take questions from you. You can either ask them during the interview or you can send them to me now. So hope to see you then. But until then, take care, stay safe. Bye.